Alright, so we will now chant the 13th verse of the text. Shakti Dvayam Hi Mayaya
Maya
Vikshepavritti Rupakam
Vikshepavrittirupakam
Vikshepa Shaktir Lingadi
Vikshepashaktirlingadi
Mandam Tam Jagatsraje.
Brahmandantam Jagatsraje.
Okay, so last class we had talked about the fact that Brahman plus Vyaktanama Rupa, that is manifest name and form, is Karyam, and Brahman plus Avyaktanama Rupa, unmanifest name and form, also called Maya, is Ishvara. So Brahman plus Vyaktanama Rupa is Jagat, and Brahman plus Avyaktanama Rupa is Ishvara. And Brahman doesn't change, so Avyakta Avastha into Vyakta Avastha is called Srishti, and Vyakta Avastha into Avyakta Avastha we refer to as Pralaya. And we also said that this Avyakta Maya has two Shaktis, two powers. One is Vikshepa Shakti, the power to manifest, and one Avarna Shakti, the power of veiling, the power of covering the truth. So, and as long as this Shakti is available, as long as it is active, samsara continues. And what is the solution? Solution is Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam. So this is going to be dealt with in the following verses. So the 13th verse and the next few verses, they talk about two things. The samsara karanam, the reason for samsara being there, and samsara pariharaha, the remedy for samsara. And the author wants to point out the cause of the bondage, the cause of the samsara, and he says there is ajnanam. So at the universal level, at samashti level, there is a concept of shamashti sanchita karma. The sanchita karma of all jivas taken together, aggregated, it's called samashti sanchita karma. And when this sanchita karma gets ready for activation, that is creation takes place. That is Srishti starts. And we say that for the individual, the sleeping and awakening of each night is dependent, of course, on his prarabdha also. And similarly, at the samashti level, the samashti prarabdham determines Srishti and Pralaya. So individual sleep is called Layaha, as we saw in Upadesha Saram. And this samashti sleep is called Pralaya. So individual sleep is also got another name, Nidra. And the samashti, that is Brahman sleep, Ishvara sleep rather, is called Yoga Nidra. Just pointing out that the principles that operate at Vyashti and Samashti level are identical. The job of Vikshepa is to convert Avyakta Nama Rupa into Vyakta Nama Rupa whenever the Samashti Prarabdham takes fruit or is ripens or is appropriate. And therefore, we need to understand one thing, that the substance behind all Nama Rupa, all Maya is Nama Rupa, but there is Ekam substance, Ekam Vastu behind that, and that is Brahma. So during this process of creation, what happens? Vikshepa completes his job, and the Jivas have been created. And as we saw in the earlier verses, the Jiva consists of three spheres. And therefore, now we use the expression aham. So when I say aham, I refer to all the three sets of seers, all the three seers. I don't refer to one seer only, because the three seers are basically one composite entity. They cannot be really separated. Why? Because Sakshi alone cannot say I. Why cannot Sakshi say I? What is the reason that Sakshi cannot say I? Anybody?
It needs a medium to act or speak.
Yes, it needs a mind. So Sakshi has no mind and it has no mouth. And therefore, the one who says I is the composite entity of all the three seers. That composite entity, the Jiva alone can say I. So seer number one is the sense organ, to remind you. Seer number two is the mind. Both these are born from Maya only. And therefore, it is the Mithya Amshaha of the Jiva. That is the Mithya part of the Jiva. Seer number three is unique. It is the Sakshi itself. It has no origin. It is not Maya. And it is not Maya Mayam. It's not a product of Maya. It is Nitya Chaitanya Rupam. It is the eternal consciousness principle. And this is called the Satya Amshaha, the Sat aspect. So Jiva consists of three aspects, two aspects, Sat aspect and Mithya aspect. Sat aspect is the Sakshi. And in this particular discussion, the Mithya aspect is the sense organ and the mind. So, I, the Jiva, am therefore a mixture of Satyam and Mithya. Mithya is also called Anrita Amsha. Anrita means the unreal or the not the, or the false Amsha. So when you use the word Satyam in one end, it's also possible to use as the opposite the word Anrita, which is basically false. Satyam being the truth and Anrita being the false part of it. Therefore, I am a mixture of truth and Mithya, truth and false. And this mixture alone can say, I am Brahmasmi. The Mithya aspect of me, which is the mind and the sense organs, cannot say, Aham Brahmasmi, because this Mithya aspect cannot exist by itself. It is dependent upon Sakshi, the seer number three. Now the thing is, seer number three can exist by itself. It has independent existence. But it can never say anything because it has no medium for expression. There is no mind, there is no mouth, so there is no medium for expression. And therefore, it is the mixture alone, the Satya Anrita mixture alone, which can say Aham. Now, this Mithya part is what we refer to as Vyavaharika Satyam, the transactional level of reality. It is useful for transactions. But I must never forget that I have this Satyam aspect also, which is beyond all transactions, which transcends all transactions. And that I am none other than this Satyam Amshaha, the Brahma Amshaha, Satya Brahma Amshaha. Mithya is subject to arrival and departure. So my mind and my sense organs, the seer number one and the seer number two, are subject to time, they are subject to arriving, they are subject to departure, they are subject to birth and they are subject to death. But the real part of me, the Satya part of me, is Nitya, it is eternal. And I must understand that I consist of both these parts. Once this is assimilated, once the knowledge that I, the Jiva, am a mixture of Satyam and Mithya is clearly assimilated, then I have no difficulty in accepting the temporary nature of Mithya, the temporary nature of my mind, my sense organs, my body, And because of this acceptance, samsara cannot touch me. But the confusion is when I do not understand these two parts, I expect to live forever, and that expectation is projected onto the mortal body, which by nature is subject to arrival and departure. And because I have an expectation which is not possible to fulfill now in this case, I am subject to sorrow. Why don't I understand this? Why is it not possible for me to immediately understand that Mithya is temporary and Satyam is permanent and I'm a mixture of both? That is because of the Avarna Shakti of Maya, which comes into play and covers the Jiva. Remember, the Avarna Shakti is also present at the Samashti level, at the universal or the cosmic level, at the macro level. But at the macro level, it does not cover Brahman. It cannot cover Brahman because Ishvara uses Maya. He is not bound by Maya. And therefore, at the macro level, it does not cover Ishvara, but it covers me at this Jiva level, at the micro level. It covers the truth of who I am. It covers the fact that I am Brahman, and therefore I take myself as the mind-body complex. This mind-body complex, of course, as we all know through our study of Vedanta so far, is subject to the law of karma, is totally controlled by the law of karma, and is a slave of its prarabdha. And if I take myself as the mind-body complex, I also become, I the jiva, become a slave of prarabdha, very unfortunately, because actually I am the satyam aspect, which can never be touched by the body. But I do not realize that. And therefore now, because of this lack of knowledge, because of this covering of Avarna Shakti, I take myself as the mind-body complex, and therefore I become a slave of my prarabdha. So it is important for me to understand that Seer 1 and Seer 2, the sense organs and the mind, they belong anatma. They belong to the mind-body complex. Anatma is perpetually controlled by karma, and therefore Seer number 1 and Seer number 2 cannot be protected from the effects of the law of karma in any janma. Any effort at protecting the Seer 1 and Seer 2, or in other words, any effort at protecting the Sthula Sukshma Shariram from the law of karma can never succeed. And therefore, if I have to go beyond the law of karma, which is what I call moksha, I have to be able to sever the connection of Seer number 3, the Sakshi, from Seer number 1 and 2. Or to put it in other words, I have to, either Jiva have to disconnect from Seer number 1 and 2 and elevate myself to Seer number 3, the Sakshi. This process of Viyoga Yoga, disconnection is Viyoga, disconnecting from Seer number 1 and 2 and connecting to Seer number 3, this is called Jnana. Okay. Now, so look at the words Mayaya Shakti Dvayam. This Maya, Dvayam Shakti Asti, has got two powers. What are they? Vikshepa Avrati Rupakam. These two powers, Rupakam, in the form of Vikshepa and Avrati. Avrati is same as Avarna Shakti. Vikshepa is the projecting power, which we said earlier. The power of projection enables the conversion of the Vyakta Avastha into the Avyakta Avastha, or the other way around. Vikshepa is the power of converting the Avyakta Avastha into Vyakta Avastha, which we call Srishti, which we call creation. So because of the projection power of Maya, which is Vikshepa, Avyakta Maya can be converted into Vyakta Maya. And thus we say that Vikshepa is responsible for the creation. Once having created, Avarana Shakti, the veiling power, the covering power, begins to operate. Now, important to understand that at Samashti level, Vikshepa Shakti only operates. Avarana Shakti does not function at Samashti level. Which is why we say that Ishvara is free from Avarana Shakti. So, Ishvara, at Ishvara's level, at Brahman plus Maya level, Vikshepa Shakti operates. So, Samashti Vikshepa Shakti is there. Samashti Avarana Shakti does not operate. And therefore he says, Vikshepa Jagat Srijetaha. This Vikshepa, it creates the entire universe. Jagat Srijetaha. Creates the whole universe. And what does he mean by whole universe? He says, Lingam Adi Brahmananda Antam. So that word breakup is there. Lingam Adi Brahmanda Antam. Brahmanda Antam. So Lingam. So Lingam here means Sukshma Shariram. So individual Sukshma Shariram. And Lingam has to be taken here to include the Sthula Shariram also. Therefore Lingam here is the Jiva. Sukshma plus Sthula. So he's saying Sukshma Sthula, that is Lingam Adi. Adi includes, Adi is for etc., which means Sukshma etc. So Sukshma plus Sthula etc. And Brahmand Antam, up to Brahman. Antam here means up to. So Lingamadi up to Brahman, which means the individual Jiva with the Sukshma Sthula Shariram up to Brahmanda. So Brahmanda means the macro universe, the Jagat. Thus the entire universe from the micro Jiva to the Samashti is projected here. Right? And how do we understand this? Because the similar Shakti operates for us during sleep avastha, swapna avastha, nidra avastha. So just as Maya has these two Shaktis, Nidra also has these two Shaktis. So the Vikshepa Shakti of Nidra, when it gets into operation, when I sleep, it projects a dream world. Unfortunately, as soon as I am in the dream, as soon as the dream world is projected with me inside that world, Avarana Shakti begins to function. And it covers what? It covers the fact that the dream is a dream. So as long as I am dreaming, this Avarana Shakti of Nidra, it ensures that I do not know that I am dreaming. I will know I am dreaming only when the dream is over. I will know I have been dreaming. So exactly like this, Maya projects the waker's world. This is what he's saying over here. Now, let's look at the next verse. I'll unmute you all and we'll chant verse number 14. Shrishtirnama Brahma Rupe
Shrishtirnama Brahmarupe
Satchit Ananda Vastuni
Satchit
Ananda
Ananda
Vastuni
Vastuni
Abdau Phenadivat Sarvam
Bhenadivat
Venadivat
Sarvam
Sarvam
Nama Rupa Prasarana.
Nama Rupa
Rupa
Prasarana.
Prasaranaha.
Okay, so look at what it says. Srishti Nama Rupa Prasaranaha. So Prasarana is the manifesting. So it says Srishti is nothing but Nama Rupa Prasarana. Srishti is nothing but the manifestation of name and form. So this is what we said in the previous verse also. The Vikshepa Shakti converts the unmanifest Maya into manifest Maya, and that is called Srishti. And that is what is being said here. Srishti Nama Rupa Prasarana. So Nama Rupa is the unmanifest state, and that unmanifest state is now presented, it's manifested. Remember that no new substance is created, because even the Nama Rupa existed in Avyakta Maya in potential form, and therefore Srishti is nothing but the conversion of the unmanifest Maya into manifest Maya. Srishti Nama Rupa Prasaranaha, manifesting the name and the form. And he gives an example, Abdau Phenadivat. So Abdau is the ocean, Phena is the foam in the ocean. So he says it's like the manifestation. You have to, if you want to understand this, you have to say Abdau Phena Adivat Prasaranaha. Just as from the ocean, the foams, the waves and the bubbles and the froth, these are all manifested from the ocean. So here the wind causes the manifestation of all these waves and bubbles and froth. So Abdhau is the ocean, Phena is the froth. And you can think of it as the froth and the foam and the waves and the bubbles all being manifested from the ocean. So here, if you convert it into our example, it is Vikshepa Shakti, which is the wind, which throws out the Nama Rupa. Just like the wind, the normal wind, brings about the manifestation of the waves and bubbles in the ocean water. The wind of Vikshepa Shakti, it brings out the manifestation of the Nama Rupa. Okay, right. And then Brahma Rupehe. So what is Brahma Rupehe? If Srishti is only Nama Rupa, what is the substance? There should be a substance for the Nama Rupa, right? So he is saying Brahma Rupehe. This is the substance. Brahman is the Rupam. It is the locus of all the names and the forms. And what is the nature of the Brahman? Sat Chitta Ananda Vastuni. The Vastu means reality. Reality here means independent existence. Because Sat Chit Ananda, Brahma Rupe, has independent existence. It does not need Nama Rupa to exist. At the same time, without this Vastu, without the Satchitananda Vastuni, Brahman, Nama Rupa cannot exist. And therefore, Nama Rupa is forever Mithya, dependent reality. Brahman is forever Satyam, independent reality. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness. Now, Ananda should be taken as Ananta and not as happiness. Why? Because happiness is an emotion. And Brahman cannot have emotions. Because for the emotion, you need the mind. And Brahman is the cause of the creation of Anatma. Maya is the cause of the creation of Anatma. And therefore, Brahman exists even when the mind does not exist. And therefore, if you have to correctly understand Satchit Ananda, you have to understand as Satchit Ananta. You cannot equate Ananda to happiness. It has to be equated to limitlessness, Ananta. And therefore, your Satchit Ananda is actually Ananta Sat and Ananta Chit, limitless consciousness and limitless existence. So the understanding of Ananda as happiness is not really correct. You have to understand Satchit Ananda as Sat Ananta Chit Ananta, and therefore limitless consciousness and limitless existence. And we know from our study of Tattva Bodha that pure consciousness and pure existence are not part, product, or property of matter. You can recall the 5 definitions: not part, product, or property of matter, independent entity, giving life to matter by its pure existence. It does not get affected when matter is destroyed. It continues to exist when matter is destroyed. It is not bound by either time or space, limitations of matter. And in the absence of matter, it cannot be recognized. This is the five properties, the five definitions which we saw in Sat as well as Chit, both in the Bhagavad Gita class and in Tattva class. So then what is the closest that I can come to this such pure existence, pure consciousness, Sat and Chit, not involved in any transaction? How do I experience? The closest we come is in deep sleep, in Sushupti Avastha, where all Nama Rupas are resolved. And I, Satchit, exist over there. I exist there. But I am not capable of claiming my existence. So, weirdly enough, you can say that I am consciousness itself, but without knowing that I am conscious. That is very, very important, because a lot of people think that the state of being Brahman is all knowing. All knowing is not in that sense. It is in being the cause of all knowledge. But without a mind, where is the knowledge? And therefore, this consciousness, you are conscious. But in the pure form of consciousness, without an attached mind or body, you are not capable of knowing that you are conscious. And therefore, he says, Satchita Ananda Vastuni Brahma Rupe. On that Vastuni Brahma Rupe, on that Vastu called Brahman, on that substance called Brahman, what happens? Sarva Nama Rupa Prasaranaha. All names and forms are manifested on that Brahman. That Brahman is the very screen upon which the names and forms are manifested. Like the movie is manifested upon the movie screen. And this is Srishti, the Jagrat and Swapna Avastha of Ishvara. Pralayam is the Sushupta of Ishvara. So in the dream, which I have created during my sleep as a jiva, when I wake up, what do I find? That the creator of the dream was none other than I, the waker. I, the Jagrat Jiva, is the creator of the dream Srishti. And similarly, we say that as Brahman, I am not dreaming. As Bhagavan, I am Ishvara. But as Ishvara, I am not dreaming. And I will have to wake up from this dream to find that I myself am Bhagavan. Okay, so with this, I'll stop here. And if any questions are there, we can ask. It's a bit of a, complex two verses, but I suppose you have understood, hopefully. Any questions we can take?
Acharya, can I ask something?
Yes, please.
In dream state, we, because of the projection or the vikshepa, we create the dreams. So, what is the avaran here?
What is the?
Avaran, willing.
Because the moment the dream state is created, you forget that you are the creator.
Oh.
And you become the victim of the dream. You become the jiva in the dream.
Okay.
Exactly like creation.
Okay.
So same Ishvara, as Ishvara you create the Srishti. But once Srishti is created, you fancy yourself the jiva, forgetting that you're Ishvara. It is identical to the dream. As the waker, you create the dream. But once you are in the dream, you've forgotten that you are the waker who creates the dream.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Om.
Om.
Sir, I'm a little confused here. This is at the Jiva level that you mentioned, but at the Ishvara level, how does the Vikshepa and the Avarna operate?
For Ishvara, there is no avarna. Vikshepa operates by way of creating the universe. Srishti Shakti. The Vikshepa Shakti is what converts Avyakta Maya into Vyakta Maya, which is what we call Srishti.
Right.
So Vyakta Maya is Srishti, Avyakta Maya is Ishvara,
Okay.
or Pralayam, whatever. So that from Pralayam to Srishti is the power of conversion is done by Vikshepa Shakti of Ishvara. But once created, you, the creator, fancy yourself as the Jiva. And that's the Avarna Shakti,
Okay. Okay, sir. Now
which
I
is
got
the exact parallel in the dream.
it. Right. I got it now, sir.
It
Thank
is
you.
not that Ishvara gets, Ishvara in his avatar as Ishvara, he doesn't get affected by Vikshepa Shakti. But the Jivas, who are none other than Ishvara, those multiple Jivas, they are subject to Avarna Shakti because of the identification with the body-mind complex.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I got it now. Thank you.
Okay.
Om Raviji, I
Yeah.
wanted to know, is there any difference between Ishvara and Jagat? If Ishvara is Avyakta Maya plus Brahman and Jagat is the Vyakta state, is there a difference, Jagat and Ishvara?
Actually, you can, if you go back to your reflected consciousness and reflecting medium, then your Samashti Karna Shariram plus RC or plus OC, which is the RC which is being reflected in Samashti Karna Shariram, can be taken as Ishvara being the final cause. But for the purpose of the argument, you can say that Ishvara in his manifest state is Jagat. Ishvara in unmanifest state is Pralayam. Which is exactly what I am saying, because Karna Shariram is the unmanifest state. Samashti Karna Shariram is nothing but Avyakta Maya, potential names and forms. It's important to understand that Samashti Karna Shariram is nothing but potential name and form, and what is being reflected there is the original consciousness. So Samashti Karna Shariram, which is in our example, I think it was RC4, right? So RC4
Right.
is Ishvara.
But once the manifestation starts,
Yes.
it's not that Ishvara ceases to exist.
No. When the Stula and Sukshma comes, the Karnam remains.
Right, right. Because I think I understood this with the example of a seed and how it grows into a tree.
The
And
seed
once
doesn't go away.
uh,
Seed is no longer visible, that is all. But the seed is very much there.
right. I understood that seed doesn't exist anymore because tree exists.
No,
That is a wrong
it still
understanding.
exists. Yeah, it still exists.
Right. Thank you very
Okay, so if anybody has any questions, otherwise we'll close up. All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Namudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Namah
much.
Shivaya.
Namah
Thank you,
Shivaya.
Acharya.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Okay, I just want to ask you guys, how was the voice today? The break?
Very good, sir.
Very good.
Very clear.
It was very good.
Okay, for some peculiar reason, the Wi-Fi is begun to operate normally again. Anyway, whatever it is the grace of Ishvara. We take it as that. Okay, guys, great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being
Thank
there.
you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya. Thank you.